My name is Lucy Waruingi. I'm a Kenyan woman. and I would say I'm a person who's passionate about providing opportunities for people and exploring knowledge to enable people to understand their environment and their context. So when I was growing up, I studied maths and computer science and statistics. That's what I majored in all the way to my master's level, including geographic information systems, which are systems that help you understand the geography of a place using statistics, to put it simply. But I know what intrigued me, because I loved nature and the environment, is that we didn't know enough from a factual perspective to inform the decisions we were making. So I've always been curious to use knowledge and facts to inform decisions. But I found that being able to use numbers and use the analysis of numbers to understand the trends of our wildlife, the growth or depletion of our natural resources, the trends of change over time. So I feel very privileged coming from a place where I thought I wasn't going to be a person who makes significant impact, and started as an intern and now as director of the African Conservation Center. It's really a journey of knowing that there are possibilities, and those possibilities are not limited to what we believe about ourselves, and that those limiting beliefs can be barriers, but they can be overcome. So I think one of the challenges, one is self, in being able to really be confident that your input matters, even though no one may actually fully solicit it from you, but you can find the ways to weave in what you need to say. So I think that was one of the challenges. I think another one is that women, once we get into families, we do get other roles that occupy a lot of our time in our space. So in as much as we're giving our best to the work, we're also giving our best to 10 other things. And so we're not able to grab the opportunities when they come, because we're weighing, should I do this now? Or should I wait until my kids are older? And for me, I know one of my challenges was even my own progression in my career. Now, so how did I overcome that? So one, I took a long distance program that I'm able to still achieve what I want. More recently, I have connected with other women to provide that space of encouraging and building each other up. More women in the environment space with whom we can share the challenges we have, with whom we can create the opportunities we don't get, and say, I have this space at this table, why don't you come with me? And we can dialogue over this discussion. So what advice would I have for young women in this space? I would say, do all you can and find a lady to work with you. I think the world is now more conscious about bringing women and youth, and therefore young girls, into these spaces. So I think let them be bold and ask for those spaces. Women will be sympathetic to allow them those spaces, but they might also find some men who are willing to allow them into those spaces, especially if you think about the big investment world of people who make decisions on where will funding go. It's a very intimidating space to be, but if you're bringing value, you will find space at that table. Africa is on a development trajectory, which is important and is critical. And development involves trying to raise the economic status of its people. And a lot of that is by looking at economic models that spur economic growth. And one of those is developing infrastructure, being able to provide people ability to move goods and services, to move people, to provide resources in places that are far-flung and not accessible. So in one hand, that's a big opportunity for Africa, and we are seeing it all over. On the other hand, climate change only, in my view, comes to exacerbate the conditions that it finds. So if it finds an environment that is not sustainable in its development, for example, if in developing we are depleting forests, if in developing we are draining out our water sources, if in development we are degrading the land, then climate change will only make us so much worse off. What is the perspective that I bring into that discussion? I think one big thing that's clear for all of us is that Africa is on a development trajectory. Most African countries, 50, 60 years after independence, have come of their own, have clear policies, have enough technical capacities and sometimes quite a bit of resources to really now grow in an exponential way. And what's becoming clear is that even as we develop, if we're not mindful of how our development integrates with sustainable management of our resources, we will have more exacerbated negative impacts from climate change. And I think this is a discussion that Africa must have in a very sober manner, because connected with development is resource and financing. And sometimes the piper calls the tune. The person providing the finances, loaning us and lending us what we need, determines how development is done, what designs they want to use. But we need to be stronger to say we know how development needs to happen in Africa. We have the environmental safeguards that you must follow to ensure that your designs and implementation of development does not leave us worse off in 10, 20, 30 years. So for women to break the bias that may exist in these spaces that we're trying to get women to, two things come to mind. One is that women should come as themselves. And by that I mean women tend to be perceived as soft. And that in a sense is good because it means you can empathize with the feelings and the issues around that table. The second thing women should do in these spaces that we are striving to try and get into is to bring other women. If you have a space that you've been called to speak, a panel you've been asked to contribute to, a discussion that you're bringing in some perspective, look for other women. It could be a woman you're mentoring, or it could be a woman who has a similar passion or interest or expertise in that field. And I think if we women would do that, the world would find that they actually want more of us on the table because we will make a difference. I am Lucy Waruingi. Let's break the bias.